Today on the Failing Up podcast, we have me, Allison Jasper, CEO of The Agency, to discuss my journey from the Buffalo Bills to marketing and real estate. I also share some insights on failure, emphasizing the importance of learning from mistakes and the evolution of failure over a course of a career. Finally, highlighting the significance of a true leader, leading by example and striving to be a good person in leadership roles. Let's jump in.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Failing Up podcast, Humble Lessons in Life and Business. My name is David Huffaker, your host, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Bethany Voice. Bethany, welcome.
Here. I'm excited.
We're still here?
Awesome. We're still here.
It. Fresh day, just showed up.
Excited. We're bringing the energy this morning, so it's going to be awesome. We just got coffee.
We decided we should have started with mimosas, right?
Yeah.
You should have brought your
you
juice.
Done.
Sangria.
Yeah. Thank you. You knew I
really
could tell. I couldn't
crazy.
remember what it was called, so thanks
Juice.
for saying
Your
me.
juice. Your
I'm
hunch
going
punch.
to forever call it juice from here on out.
That's it. Allison's juice. All right. We're joined by Allison Jasper. Allison is the amazing marketing director and CEO of the agency for Level 8 Partners or Level 8 Platforms, and also the marketing director for the Huffaker Group. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. You didn't grow up in real estate like some of us here.
No, I didn't.
Over the last 10 years, and so one of the newest additions to our leadership team.
Absolutely. I've been a little bit of a journeyman, I feel like, when it comes to industry. So born and raised in Buffalo, New York. Go Bills. And
is that a professional team?
It is a professional team.
Heard
It
of them here in
is. Yes.
Nashville.
Started my career actually with the Bills, fresh out of college, worked my butt off my senior year of undergrad. And was offered a full-time position the Monday after I graduated.
Nice.
From there, I worked in financial services for a marketing agency, American Cancer Society, did national marketing campaigns with them. And then most recently, before skipping over into the real estate industry, I was with the Archery Trade Association, which is the membership organization for the archery and bow hunting industry. So we had put on a very large trade show, largest archery and bow hunting trade show in the world.
I bet that was a diverse group of people.
Yeah.
It was wild. I mean, it was wild. You cannot replicate that event.
I remember growing up going to gun shows with my dad, and it was the most, like, you pretty much got like
Just
all the
unique
free
people.
skull. That like when
Yeah.
I like that was like you would go to booths and they would basically give out like tobacco.
That's so
and I was
funny.
like, okay, like this is
Yeah.
the most interesting place on earth.
You know, I didn't see too much skull
I feel
there.
like bow
but
hunting is a little different though. Like it is.
Oh,
It's
like
like
bow
it's
hunters are
yeah.
so
like
classy.
bow. They
Is
are
that
a
what
little
you're saying?
classier. I mean,
Like-
not to shout out to
Definitely
bow
a lot of
hunters.
Skill to
flannel.
shoot a bow.
Yeah,
Anybody
but
can shoot
also
a gun.
archery, right? Which is just such an elite like sport.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
just a whole different breed of amazing
Yeah,
people.
what was
I'm
the guy's
sure.
name? Andy Nifley from Clarksville. His daughter was like Olympic level.
Olympic
Like, she
level
was legit.
archery. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't think she shot deer. I think she shot at a target.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's
Yeah,
just
that's
archery.
yeah.
You
it's
service
archery.
both, right?
Yeah, we
You got
service
both
both. Yeah.
genres of
Yeah.
bow
I guess I only
hunters and
associate
archery.
it with hunting.
Yeah,
so.
I
Wow.
would say that the coolest part outside of the actual trade shows that we did in 2019, I went to the Netherlands
that's
for
awesome.
the World Archery Championships, and
Yeah.
like that was wild. Like that was wild.
So I'm sure our listeners' biggest question is going to be, tell us about the lawn dart market. Like,
Yeah.
what happened to that? Now, you remember those?
That's still a thing.
Oh,
No,
absolutely
I'm
not.
So
Y'all are
young.
young. Yeah. Dude,
I was gonna
yeah.
say,
I
When I
don't
grew
even
up-
care if I do remember. I'm saying I'm young.
One of the coolest things at my grandparents' house was lawn darts.
darts.
And it was like a mini hula hoop, and you laid it in, you set it
Yep.
on the ground, and they were these heavy, like, I mean, they
Yep.
were this long. And you and your friends, they would stand down there by that
And you would,
circle,
like,
and you
toss
would
them.
throw it in the air
Yeah.
and try to land. And, like, I wonder how many people have died from that. I know they don't
Yeah.
make them anymore.
You know what's crazy is they do have a version of that now because I saw some people playing over the weekend, but way safer, not as
Not as lethal.
lethal. I think they're like all plasticky, very limited weights, like fun little kid game now.
Yeah.
But yeah, way less fun. So
Yeah,
still good
not allowed
though.
on airlines.
Yeah,
or
not
those
allowed
things, those
to
things are crazy
pack,
thinking
yeah.
back. Like, I can't believe some of this
Right.
stuff we're allowed to do. Well, anyway, sorry, already off
Yeah,
track.
no,
You
you're
gotta
good.
stop this.
so lots of industries.
We
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
talk to you today. Obviously, our primary target market or market that listens to this, mostly business owners, a lot in the real estate space. And you bring a perspective of marketing that a lot of us don't have, right? And so I think from that, a lot of podcasts focus on what people do really well. I want to talk today about the failures and how you personally learn and grow from failures, one as a leader, but two, in our space with marketing. When you think of failure, especially in terms of real estate, where do you see it most show up?
I would say almost just like time right now, right? Like just dealing with real estate agents, dealing with just the real estate industry in general. Everything is so go, go, go. And where I'm coming from, like everything has like a timeline. There's like this big project outline and stuff like that. And like you think that, oh, you can just do it quickly, right? But a lot of like the time management, I definitely feel like has been like a reoccurring theme lately, and understanding like things take time. Like there's a lot more things that go into just marketing or marketing tasks that somebody thinks like, oh, you can just like, there's no magic button.
Are you talking
right?
directly to me right now? Like, is this where,
No,
like, I know.
never,
I always
Yeah.
think that like
There is a magic button.
what takes 6 hours should take like 4
Yes,
minutes. I'm like,
right.
I don't, there's an app. Like just like
just
make it happen.
do it.
Yeah. Just
And, And
I dream of Jeannie.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I also think that we expect in the real estate space that with marketing we can hire one person and they can do it all.
Yeah.
And one of my ahas over the last 6-7 years is that every time I hire someone, I realize that I need to hire 3 more people.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a challenge, right? Because you ultimately, to run a really well-run, well-organized machine, you need a lot of people at the largest level, and yet we all are limited in revenue, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
being able to navigate that.
Yeah.
So how do you do that, right? In the real estate space or for other teams, how are you showing up for these agents as their kind of gap stop for marketing?
Right. So I mean, just marketing in general is just like this huge umbrella, right? Like there's so many different like specialties within the marketing sphere, I guess. And so like you can actually be like a generalist, which is what I feel like I am. Like I know a lot of things about a lot of things, but I don't necessarily know all there is to know about this one specific item or this one specific item. Or if you kind of get down into the nitty gritty where you do have these really, really robust teams, that's where you kind of get into like the specialties, right? Like you have somebody that just knows everything that there is to know about video creation. You have somebody that knows everything there is to know about Google ads, right? So it's kind of like you have to pick and choose. But then when it comes to actually coaching up the real estate agents, I can get them to a point and we have like these very honest conversations of like, okay, well, what's your end goal? Like, how much do you want to dive into this? Do you just want to know enough to be dangerous? Because I'll help you be that. If you want to get a little bit deeper, that's cool. And I know all of the tools in order to get you there, but we're just going to have to take a few more steps, like outside of like my expertise. Because again, like I know what I am, I know like the value that I bring to the table, but you also just have to be also realistic with yourself.
I think that's what we find with Level 8. It's why Level 8's been so successful is I don't believe as an individual agent or even as an individual team owner, I had the resources or bandwidth to have all of these different people, right? And so leaning into Level 8 where I have, a Bethany and a Joseph to help me with recruiting, where I have you to help us focus on marketing, where we have Top Ops to help us focus on transaction management, where we have Sales Fox to help us focus on coaching, right? All of these pieces, because I think for you, if you're an agent out there and you're thinking like, man, I really need to up my marketing, right? It's prospecting-based marketing enhanced. You can really end up spending a ton of money at the wrong things.
Yeah.
And we've, I hate to say it, like thrown so much money at just ideas. And yet if you don't have someone leading it as agents, right, we're very squirreled, right? Like it's like, this was a great idea on Tuesday, and by Thursday, I'm now wanting to, buy
Change it.
Yeah.
You're
I
right.
think now we're going to do water towers. If you could just get my name on a bunch of water towers.
Sure, I'll work on that this afternoon.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, I appreciate that.
I'll get you pricing tomorrow.
So where do you see, away from real estate marketing specific, as a leader, you've been a leader of people, you've led teams, you're a leader obviously within our organization. What does failure look like for you, and where do you see it up just leading other humans?
So failure, I feel like failure for me has like transitioned like so much like over the span of my career. I mean, I hope that I still like look pretty young, but I feel like I'm seasoned. I've been in a few different leadership roles at this.
You're good.
Yeah, right, so young.
Yeah.
I'm so young.
We're all young here.
And there's been times where like failure could be just so transactional, right? But like now I almost see failure of like I'm failing at something every single day, and it's more of like this broad, like methodical thing, right? Like there's no real, like I don't really care if I fail at a little thing, because it's like all that you're actually doing is trying to get better as the days go on, right? And so something that I failed at today, I hope I don't fail at again tomorrow. But understanding that you're going to fail, like you're human and it's okay. And as long as you're doing your best and like really thinking about something before you're doing it, that's cool. And then in terms of like the leadership aspect, I mean, really just like leading by example and ultimately being a good person. Like I've had so many bosses along the way or leaders that I've like looked up to and really understood what not to do. And then like how I want to potentially be as a leader one day. And ultimately what that comes down to is really being a good person, understanding that like you're human first, you're a worker second. And so I would say that like in terms of failure and how that relates, I mean, just giving some people grace, understanding, and just like really working towards a solution. Like it's okay to fail and let's just work to get better.
So Bethany, we hear that a lot on our episodes of all of these people's success stories. And a lot of us are either believe or programmed to say that like, oh, failure's a step. And again, with our ecosystem, is it easy to say that because you guys have reached a level of success where failure's more of a stepping stone of what you're doing? It's not you always have success in your back pocket, right? Like you guys have made it far enough to where you kind of know like the bottom is pretty far away.
Yeah.
Right? You'd have to go through a lot to get back to like the bottom. Is it possible that you guys perceive failure as this part of the journey, airy fairy thing because, you know, you're not there anymore?
Right. Right. Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I think when you think about terms of success, what we now deem as failure, to your point, we're so far away from the bottom that it's like, okay, yeah, we'll learn, we'll get better, no big deal, right? No one's losing their home or their family over this one decision. I think when you're close to that and failure means those things, or one failure's away from, something really traumatic happening in your life, it's probably a little bit closer to home, a little scarier. And yet I do believe, because I would say I was in an environment prior to this, and Allison, you might be able to speak to this, is that failure wasn't necessarily accepted. And we were still, we weren't that close to the bottom either. And yet it was very much like, we just can't mess up. And that pressure to always be perfect is really where I saw mistakes start to flood in, because now I'm so focused on not getting it wrong that I'm going to make some silly mistakes.
It's like when you need to sell a house, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, like
right?
you just you definitely hit this panic moment versus providing environments where when people feel safe to fail and to learn and to grow, honestly, I think we start to diminish some of the mistakes, right? At least the silly ones, right? Because, hey, everything's okay. We can grow from this. This is all a learning environment. And all of a sudden, I don't have this high pressure situation that's going to allow me to trip up on some really silly things that I don't need to trip up on. But to your point, I mean, I think as you get further in, I now have this ability to look back and go, see how failure served me. And it doesn't seem as traumatic as it did back then.
That's wisdom.
Right?
And learning that. You also, on the flip side of that, where we see good being the enemy of great so often, and I think people who really, if you study, there's so many stories of the broken, right, that have this really challenging upbringing or youth that go on to be massive successes because they kind of go like, I know where that was and I know that I can survive there. And so you're able to, but where we see good being the enemy of great, good being the enemy of great is where people, when you have nothing to lose, it's pretty easy to throw caution to the wind and do whatever it takes and take risks, right? Then they get to this level where all of a sudden there is something to lose and they cling to it so hard in order to not lose it that they're not able to kind of move forward. Where have you seen that, Allison, with agents or with businesses, good being the enemy of great, and then ultimately agents not willing to do what it takes to get to the next step, or business owners not being willing to do what it takes to get to the next step? Do you ever see that show up in people's lives?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think that stems in all aspects of life. But I mean, specific to agents, I think that agents can be so hyper-focused on like what has either like worked for, potentially like a seasoned agent, right? Like they have just always done what works for them, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Like a print newsletter?
Like Yes, exactly like a print newsletter, but I'm coming around. Like I'm coming around.
I'm gonna win you over.
Yeah, you
Just
might
for our
win me over.
listeners, Allison said, "Why are we still doing these print newsletters?" And I said, "We've been doing it forever. Like we're gonna keep doing." And so we're
It's like David's security blanket.
Yeah,
Give him his print newsletter.
That's right.
Right.
That's
now.
right.
It's
We're
his
going
lovey.
through the
Yeah,
process.
yeah, it
It's
is.
his lovey.
I love it.
And that's all right. I mean, ultimately, there's a little bit of compromise when it comes to like the evolving of what worked, 10, 15 years ago might not work anymore. Like we had an agent recently who had 2,000 database contacts. And when I dove in to look at their, truly look at the data, only 70 of them had an email address.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, goodness gracious, are you just sitting here and just dialing on your rotary phone and calling them every single day?
Yes.
I mean, in terms of,
They have their
right.
email. It's
Yeah.
just in the Rolodex.
Yeah,
And so,
right.
and from my perspective, I really focus on, that so much of real estate is very much like a one-to-one interaction. And that's where your true deals are done. And that is absolutely, but what I feel like my role is hitting the masses, right? Hitting the masses and getting enough people to bite so that our agents can then go and have those meaningful one-to-one interactions. So it's also kind of adjusting my mindset to meeting them in the middle. Where are they? And then how can I evolve to so we meet on the Richter scale somewhere.
Yeah, a couple of truths I think of when I think about the marketing role in terms of business and real estate is, for us, a lot of it's quantity until it's quality, right? And it's, to me, we're doing the marketing, especially today with TCPA and needing people to opt into communication, right? Needing people to register before we just blindly call them or reach out to them. Being able to do that in a way that gets enough people to raise their hand. In real estate, sometimes we say a lead is a good lead or a bad lead, right? And my perspective on it now is a lead's not good or bad. You only qualify it as good or bad based off their willingness to move. If you look at it as an opt-in right to communicate and a chance to build relationships with people actually only move every 10 to it's almost 13 years now, right? It's really gone up. So for us as business owners in this industry, we have to be able to communicate with people for 10 years without really any type of engagement. And yet we've seen now over the last decade that if you stay in communication with them through email, through social media, through print newsletters, that they will raise their hand, right?
Yeah.
They will remember you. And learning from you, right? Some things work for a moment and it doesn't make them right or wrong. It may just be the season, right? Sometimes we're in a fast-paced market. Sometimes we're in a slow-paced market, right? So radio might not work during a certain moment, but the market changes. And that's what I think is so challenging about understanding it, is because it's not just the marketing and the company and the team and where you're at on the journey, but then also what's the market doing in reaction to that? What's the real estate market specifically? What's the economy doing, right? All those things.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can have a blueprint, right? And there's going to be some of your pillars, right, that you can always stand on. So when it comes to database, when it comes to your sphere, all of that sort of stuff. But then I feel like there's so many intangibles that you just have to almost go off of the market, go off of some research, honestly go off what your gut is telling you at some point. So I think that it's definitely a magic potion or a magic spell that you just really have to kind of work to perfect, and you're not always going to get it perfect.
Right.
So outside of marketing in life, right? Let's think about, for our listeners, we like to talk about a time. I love to hear people's stories where, oh man, I really failed at this or thought it was a huge failure at some point in my life, and yet looking back, my wife and I always loved there's a country song, right? Like God Bless the Broken Road that led me straight to you or whatever, right?
Yeah, Rascal Flatts, baby.
Yeah, right. So you think about all the things that could have went wrong and a lot of the heartbreaks along the way, right? Girlfriends or boyfriends or whatever. And then you look at your spouse or whoever. Where have you seen that in your life? Where have you seen a failure show up and you were devastated and oh, this is it, right? And then you look back and you go,
right,
man, what a cool turning point in my life.
Personally or professionally?
Either.
Ooh, so professionally, one stands out 100%. I was 22 years old, working full-time for the Bills for 4 months maybe. I started in corporate sponsorships on the activation side, and I had a game day sponsor. This was my first big deal. So game day sponsor, they get all this extra signage. They can do a game day handout. And the Bills, it was, I can tell you every moment of that day. It was September 27th of 2009.
Didn't scar you at
Yeah,
all.
I was gonna say, tell me it wasn't a big deal
is
without
my
telling
Twitch
me.
showing yet? Yeah, and so it was September 27th. We were playing the New Orleans Saints, and my game day sponsor chose to do like essentially Mardi Gras beads as like the game day handout, and they saved money and went with the traditional like red and blue was the bills, but like the purple, green, and gold beads. And like, you know, we have like all of these meetings leading up to the game, and you know, I'm 22, I am a baby. And you know, we have like the game day meeting, you know, just a few minutes before the gates open and all this kind of stuff. And so our CEO and GM, president, like he had all these titles, got so mad. And he goes, who in the world approved this game day giveaway to promote our opposing team?
Because it was gold.
Well,
the gold beads.
Because it was just Mardi Gras beads. So
Oh,
it's like
in their
it's
New
promoting,
Orleans. Yeah.
it's like promoting like
Okay.
the other team's culture. And
You have to like quietly raise your hand.
no, so my boss at the time, he says it was Allison. And
Did you see that bus coming? Like,
Yeah.
just threw you right under it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh
It's
my God.
oh.
Like, I mean, yes, like just,
Yeah.
handed me a grenade. Right.
And you're holding in the
right,
pin.
and I'm just like, and you know, and then I'm like, you know, talking to the sales guy and then my boss, I go, so you guys are telling me that you guys had no idea. Do you think that I, at 4 months into this job as a 22-year-old kid, would like just approve this? Like 50,000 beads? And they said, I had no idea.
Oh,
And
no.
they said, I had no idea. And I'm like, huh, okay.
Awesome.
Okay, great. And so, I mean, in the moment, like that was just devastating. I was so sad. Like I had worked so hard to even get to this point. I'm a huge fan of sports.
So did life end at that moment? Like you never moved
felt
on?
like still, for
It
sure.
felt like
Yeah.
it did. So like, I mean, transactionally, like in that transactional failure, I now save every email, right? Because I couldn't actually then go back and prove that they indeed knew
About you were
about
ordering the
this,
beads.
that they were ordering the beads. And so transactionally, you know, you can never. I have receipts. Like I have receipts. I have the emails.
Also noted.
You learned something, right?
Right.
But then again, like as I'm growing as a leader and I've gone to like actually manage people, I think about how could they have done that? Like I would never do that. Sometimes as a leader, you just have to grin and
You have
bear
to
it.
jump on the grenade for your people.
I have to take the grenade back.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so that has like more so really been like the eye opener
Well,
for
what
me.
a cool guiding light for you, right? And sometimes that's how we learn best, right? As we see other people make mistakes, we go, I don't, you know, it's not about as much who I want to be, but learning definitely who I don't want to be.
Yes,
sometimes, right?
yes, 100%. So that would be by far the a defining moment that like I will always take with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that's cool. And I think the point, you know, we were at family reunion and heard a lot of this speak back in February, but one of the things I think we all feel these same emotions, right? We all feel these same fears. We all feel it was the experiment we did was Mel Robbins, right? And she had everybody stand up, and it was like that. It was like, all right, you're going to stand up and you're going to go speak with someone else in the room. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And it was this like, and it was like, to me, it felt so good that she acknowledged the fact that everyone in the room went, right?
Yeah.
Like not there.
Yeah.
You think like, 99 people were like, oh yeah, I get to go talk to someone. And my personality goes, oh my God, really? Right.
Yeah.
And yet to recognize that like we're all on this together, this journey, and we all experience these same frustrations. And it's, what do you take away from it? Right. Do you shut down and get mad and refuse to learn from it? And I think that's where a lot of people fail, right? And continue to just stay in that, like, who was it? I think Dana had said something to me a few months ago, and I at least said to her, like, she's like, I keep failing at this over and over again. I was like, well, what lesson is God trying to teach you that you're refusing to learn? And I thought probably should take that medicine myself sometimes, right?
Yeah.
On that. So, all right.
Well, I think, you know, and just one last, I think, question for me, because we've been talking about it on this with you, and kind of the theme of this is now we're all fairly experienced in our arenas, right? Like when I first started, the little mistakes were abundant. And now, as a person who embraces failure, I'm saying, like, bring it on. I know I can learn. And yet I've noticed in my own career, now I'm kind of the expert in what I do. So the failures are smaller, or I'm definitely not making them as much. Now I've been asking myself, like, what can you fail at today in an effort to go learn? Like, what can you mess up? That way you're able to glean something, because you can get a little stagnant. You obviously are really great at what you do. You have tons of experience in the marketing world. How are you going to fail forward your next level now? Because you're not making the little tiny mistakes anymore, right? We're not just showing up every day and ordering Mardi Gras beads on the wrong game. So how do you challenge yourself to choose a new failure to go learn and grow?
Well, I feel like I do fail every single day. Nothing will humble you more than a new job. Like, nothing will humble you more because you don't have a lot of this, just institutional knowledge of like what has been done in the past and just like learning new operating systems. So, I do feel like I'm still failing. I broke a website,
I was trying not to bring it up. I was going to say, as a journalist, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask if you were the source of the Boomtown failure this week.
As a journalist.
Where's the light? Do I need to go under oath? I did not break Boomtown.
You didn't break Boomtown.
I didn't break Boomtown.
Okay. Not this time.
And in my defense, the last time it was only down for like 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours.
We solved it.
Because no, Bethany solved it.
We solved it together. It was a team effort.
It was.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were a
and
good
you can
leader.
do it in
Really
the
good.
dark of night too, and no one
the
notices.
first time the website ever crashed, it was only done. You did limit.
And it was late at night. It's fine.
But I was
kidding.
but
We
I
just love
was
to give you a hard
trying
time
to
about it.
move us forward in our email communication.
Yeah.
Done great.
Yes.
And you learned so much.
So I did. I do still, thank you for saying that, but I do still feel like I'm failing every single day in some of the little things. I do feel like it's getting better, but yeah.
I think that's comforting though for listeners to hear, right? I think they're talking to 3 people that are experienced in what they've been doing. And from a distance, it looks like we get it right all the time.
Ooh,
And behind the curtain, we know, whether that's personally or professionally, we're messing it up all the time. I think it's the challenge to embrace it continually, day in and day out, and say, okay, awesome. I'm going to look forward to the opportunity to mess it up pretty big so I can learn and it'll never happen again, right? And I just grow as a person. So kudos for you for embracing it.
I'll say to that, I've got a cluster of companies right now that, you talk about, are we so far away from the bottom on some of these companies where we feel successful and so the failures are maybe lighter? And I've got a cluster of companies where I generally feel like I am
We're pretty close to the bottom.
And the emotion that comes with that, right? And the frustration and the, am I the right person for this? And could somebody do it better? And, what am I missing? And do I have the, and all of those things that come around with it. And so I just want to make sure our listeners know that, like, nobody's immune from that, right? I don't care. You can look at the biggest people in the world, the biggest stages. Yeah. And not to call people out, but like there's gurus out there that tell you about self-help, and yet sometimes you look at their personal life or you look at their history in life and you go like, the audio and video, everybody goes through their challenges, right? Everybody has to cope with those emotions. And yet to me, and not that I have the answer, but the secret sauce has been the perseverance, right? To go like, I don't know, but I don't know who else is going to show up and do it. So I have to get smarter, right? I have to think more. Okay, wrapping up, I want to be respectful of your time. Think, 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, right? Where you're at the end of life, this journey that you've been on, and you're looking back, what do you hope is not your biggest regret? What could you potentially look back and be like, man, I really, really regret or made these mistakes, and I wish I would have wired around them sooner?
Oh, maybe to be a little less cautious and just kind of just be okay with just like diving in, right? I'll never forget during our interview before I got hired with the Huffacre Group in Level 8, and you kind of said like, a lot of times things are really good and we're moving forward, but a lot of times there's like burning fires all around us. And like, if you're cool with that and you can like handle yourself, then this might be the right place for you. And I remember saying something like, well, all right, like, let's do it. Like, sure. Okay. And so I feel like that has been a very humbling experience of just like, okay, like eye on the prize, like keep moving forward and kind of know what you are trying to achieve and trying to accomplish within like this real estate, because we've heard it so many times, like the opportunity is endless in real estate. And I've seen that and I've felt that. And so that part of me is just like, don't worry about the burning fires around you and just like kind of keep steady and like it will be all right. Like,
I worry about that balance with my children, right? Of how much risk do you encourage versus, sometimes I'm like, they're such great kids and they make such great decisions. Sometimes I'm like, go break something, right? Like go get arrested. And then I'm like, no, don't go get arrested. It's a horrible idea.
Just bring it back. Maybe just get pulled over for rolling through a stop sign.
Right.
Get a warning.
But I agree with you. And I think a lot of interesting things happen when you get comfortable breaking things, and you start to believe in yourself that you go like, all right, I'm going to make mistakes. All right, I'm going to start some fires, right? Yeah. and yet I'm going to work through them, right? And again, it's just as long as you're
yeah.
willing to get up off the mattress and pick yourself up and fight your way through every day, that really becomes the game, right? That becomes the exciting part of it. Like, really cool things happen if you just persevere long enough to focus on them, right?
I think the wire around too for that cautious behavior, right, is action. You know, the body reacts to, like, I'm going to get up and do something. I don't know what it is. I don't even know if it's the right action, but it's going to breed momentum, and momentum breeds results. And so in that, like, you know, behavior of, oh my gosh, there's all these fires, I think we all want to just stand still and go, okay, oh my gosh, I'm scared. What do I do next? And I think we have really pushed for an environment of, like, let's go move, right? The action will breed the result we're looking for, even if we get it wrong. And that's okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. Yeah. Guys, if these conversations resonate with you, or if you want to be in business with some of these powerful leaders, we'd encourage you to go check out level8platform.com. You can connect with Bethany, you can connect with Allison, you can connect with any of our amazing people and just learn more about your business, about ways that they could maybe serve you and help your business grow. Thanks for spending time with us today, Allison.
Thanks so much.